Dad visits ecstasy baby, is heartbroken by what he sees. He hopped into his car with the medicine in hand, alarmed that his infant daughter was sick. The evening traffic had cleared up a bit and he could hurry to his ex's house. He got in to find her lulling the baby. Her face was drenched in worry and she managed a smile when he entered the house. But as he stored the medicine, he saw something that broke his heart. Dylan and Macy got married right after college. The two, both law students, fell in love while they were still in school. For the longest time, Dylan was convinced that Macy was the one for him. They had so much in common, and as the years went by, Dylan knew Macy was meant to be in his life forever. Dylan and Macy dated for 3 years before Dylan got on one knee and proposed to her. They were happy then, and soon enough, they welcomed a beautiful baby girl into their lives. The young couple named the baby Zawadi, a gift that promised the two would always be in each other's lives. For Dylan, his daughter was more than a gift. She was his sun and moon. The couple knew happiness for some months after little Zawadi was born. But then trouble came knocking. Although both Dylan and Macy went to law school, only Macy was able to make a career out of her degree. Dylan had followed a different path, choosing to be a musician instead. The change had been abrupt, sending tremors through their once solid relationship. Dylan and Macy's relationship deteriorated after Dylan decided to pursue his dream. Macy reminded him they had a kid and he couldn't be making such selfish decisions now. But Dylan was adamant. Their arguments lasted for a year, with Dylan asking Macy to believe in him and Macy reminding him all their financial responsibilities were solely on her shoulders now. Then the worst happened. The couple's arguments grew into raging fights over minor things in their home. The once powerful romantic flame between them died utterly. One night, the couple sat down to talk. Even though there was still love between them, it was no longer the same love that made them exchange vows at the altar. They agreed to get a divorce. Heartbroken, Dylan and Macy got a divorce. But they still kept talking because, despite everything they'd gone through, there was still friendship between them. The two also had little Zawadi to think of, and although Dylan didn't openly admit it, he was glad that their daughter was an everlasting bridge between him and Macy. He didn't know how much their daughter would do for their relationship. One evening, Dylan got a call from Macy. She informed him that Zawadi had come down with a nasty headache and she needed him to bring some medicine. Since their divorce, Macy worked full-time while also taking care of Zawadi by herself. She'd also acquired a car which she was in the middle of paying off. Although Dylan was more than proud of her, he knew the amount of pressure on her shoulders. Knowing Macy needed his help, Dylan hopped into his car and hurried to the store before driving to her place. He respected Macy for all she'd accomplished and how good she was with Zawadi. He would do anything to help her raise their daughter. He pulled up into her driveway with the medicine in hand, ready to see her and their daughter. The air inside Macy's house was warm, her living room filled with coos from little Zawadi. Dylan rushed in, hugging Macy, who was lulling Zawadi in her arms. "How is she?" he asked. "Burning up," Macy answered. "Did you get the medicine?" Dylan nodded, informing Macy he would keep it above her fridge where she could easily access it. He didn't know what was waiting for him there. Dylan rushed into the kitchen, popping some of the medicine from the pack so he could take it to Macy. He placed the rest on the fridge, then grabbed a small cup to take water with the medication. With the cup in hand, he opened the fridge to fetch some water, and that's when he saw it. When Dylan pulled open Macy's fridge, he hadn't expected to find what he did. 2 bottles of water stood before him, one almost empty and the other half full. The rest of the fridge was empty. Dylan's heart broke at that moment and he wondered why Macy hadn't told him she'd needed help in her place. But what could he do when they were no longer together? Dylan could understand why Macy kept this from him. She'd always been a proud woman who'd gotten as far as she was in life with no one's help. Even though Dylan was constantly proud of her, he wished she'd have told him about this. His eyes brushed the kitchen pantry and he noticed the shelves were stacked with baby formula, snacks, and all the fruit Zawadi needed. Dylan smiled but knew he still had to do something about Macy's situation. Dylan hurried the medicine and water to Macy and told her he needed to handle some things in town. Would she be around later so he could spend some time with Zawadi? When Macy nodded, he hurried into a grocery store in town and bought groceries that would last Macy weeks. He couldn't bear the thought of her struggling while he was around to help. Dylan took a trunk full of groceries back to Macy's. Although she refused to accept it at first, she eventually did, a smile blooming across her face as she hugged him. Dylan explained that although he and Macy were no longer together, she was still Zawadi's mom, which meant the world to him. Without her, he wouldn't have the best gift life could give a person. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more.